the United States House just passed what is effectively a ban on TikTok. This bill would force ByteDance to divest from TikTok or be banned in the United States. So this is an effective ban because there's no way ByteDance is going to do this considering the huge international market of TikTok. This is an obvious attempt at censorship and cracking down on the freedom of speech. They want to ban TikTok because they cannot control the flow of information that young people are consuming. Anyone who truly believes that they are banning TikTok to protect you from the Chinese Communist Party is a rube and a bootlicker of the highest order. They are really trying to sell this deeply authoritarian bill as the Congress trying to protect Americans. So the government that is okay with watching you die without health care, watching people freeze in the winter who are homeless, you guys think they care about Americans. If you believe that, you are a grown-ass child. Whatever happened to the free market? You know the theory of the free market that capitalists live and die by? The theory that say that consumers were phased out naturally dangerous products, so there's no need for regulations. What happened? Are you getting cold feet? Are you realizing that your capitalist ideology is absurd? Now let's get to the real reason why they're banning TikTok. Of course, it's because of Israel. Zionists for a very long time been complaining about TikTok because of the pro-Palestinian content that young people are viewing. The ADL was very public about the fact that they believe that they had a major TikTok problem.
We need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids. It's time to talk about TikTok. And I think we need members of Congress to get. It is long past time for TikTok and its owners and its investors to step up and say enough.
And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas's massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem, that our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Taglit, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations, need to put our energy towards this, like, fast.
And they do, because as the Western corporate media had a blackout over the gruesome genocide that Israel is committing on TikTok, young people are seeing all the images of dead kids, dead women, and the war crimes that Israel is committing. TikTok is not the national security threat. Zionism is. All of the most fascist, anti-free speech actions that this country takes can be traced back to Israel. What's poppin'? What's poppin', my friends, my family? Welcome back. We got Nick at Night, Thursday edition. You guys know Thursday is always a banger for RBN. Hope you guys got a chance to catch the Savvy and JB show. Savvy and JB's back. You guys know the combination between Savvy and JB is just too powerful. You have Savvy talking to Garland Nixon as well. They did. I was just watching it. I was just watching this before that. So if you're watching Savvy talking to Garland Nixon, if you're watching the replay of this, what's popping? So we had the powerful combination of Savvy and JB. So you guys know, you already know that I was in the lab for the last few days because of this story. You guys know things been popping on X. I mean, we getting like 1,000 live views on X. I don't know if that shit real or not. We exposing the talking points of the Zionists and the capitalists. One step at a time. You got to see the free market talking point there. I've been really jabbing capitalists at this one. The capitalists who believe that their system gives you freedom, even though you're not allowed to retire in this system. In this system, you're not guaranteed health care and housing. How can you be free when you can't retire? Someone's playing to me. But the idea of the free market is supposed to regulate and consumers know what best. What happened to that? There's so many angles to break down here. Like the right wing is wanting to throw away free speech because they're afraid of China. That's why they're using the China narrative. Like, if you believe that it's about China, you're a clown. That's how they get right wingers to support this ban. Liberals already support TikTok bans because they already for regulated social media companies because of disinformation. Republicans wasn't for that. Republicans was speaking out against regulation of social media companies. So it was easy to get liberals on board. All you gotta do is say Russia trying to meddle in the election. Boom, boom, they all on board. Bada bing, bada boom, they down for censorship. Not really that hard to convert the liberals. But with Republicans, you got a task because they've been pretending to be for free speech for a while. So what did they do? They used the China boogeyman, and it works like a charm. What's popping? Zoya is love. Zoya is life. What's popping, my friend?
Hello, RBN fam and Nick. So happy to be joining you today to discuss yet another fascist move by this government.
Yeah, and I'm interested to hear your take on Macron as well, because I don't have it in the title because I didn't know exactly how much time we have. I was planning a one-topic stream, but then you also have Emmanuel Macron that's declaring war against Russia. So we may touch on that for at least a little bit. I want to get your thoughts on the TikTok bill. Look at this headline, just to get us started, to get us warmed up, my friend. I want to get your overall broad thoughts about the TikTok ban. Cheryl's bill to protect Americans. There were grown-ass people that believe that. Grown-ass men. Obviously not Gen Z. Obviously it's not younger millennials like me that's for banning TikTok. There's a bunch of old white boomers who watch Fox News like, yeah, let's ban the TikToks.
It's scary.
Go ahead, Zoya.
It's scary, honestly. I mean, we've already seen people.
Your audio start messing up.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know what happened, but now I can hear you.
It was probably my blanket, honestly. So we've seen. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I have so much to say on this, but
no worries. When you get it, just feel free to interrupt me. I'm gonna read the headline. When you get a train of thought,
I got it. I was saying that we've seen already Americans arrested and their houses raided over tweets. So this authoritarian government should definitely never, under any circumstance, be given more power. We know they weaponize it against us. We know what the bills are named are never what they're actually intended to do. Like right to work actually screws over workers. Every single bill name, you can go through them one by one. It never it is doing what the bill, what the title implies. It actually always includes things to give the government more power to fuck over workers. We'd never see this kind of bipartisanship on healthcare, education, housing, clean water, anything that impacts our lives. So the moment that I see anything bipartisan where Republicans and Democrats all show up and over 300 members of the House vote for it without questions, we should all be afraid, because so far the only thing that Republicans and Democrats are always consistent on is increasing war and the wealth gap.
Mm-hmm. The talking point about bipartisanship being rare is like the biggest bullshit in politics. The bipartisanship is common as hell. Why you guys think there's so many cop cities popping up out of nowhere? Why you guys think they will pass so many Pentagon funding bills? Why you guys think ICE has been funded to record levels? This struggle is fake. In fact, you have Republicans, a few of them that block Ukraine funding, and they're freaking out because they're not used to any dissent. They call them the rowdy MAGA Republicans. Why? Because they're not falling in line on one issue of the Uniparty. Not this one, though. You guys know 81% of Congress voted for the TikTok ban? So, Zoya, in an election where Biden is already fucked, while he's funding a genocide, his strategy heading to this election is to ban the most popular social media app for young people as he's struggling with young people. Obviously, that's not going to play well. You had the bill that banned congressional stock trading. That was introduced 792 days ago. Still haven't been voted on. This bill to ban TikTok, woo, they got that done real fast, didn't they? And that's why it was clear to me that this was because of Israel. You guys saw a little bit of the receipts on the hotspot video. That's why they claim that they're making this bill to protect Americans, as this is the Karen House member. You can't really see too much of her face. I can only get up too much. But that's the Karen House member who got this passed. Oh, what do you think, though? If you one of the Americans, the ruling class don't believe it. The ruling class don't believe that this is about protecting Americans. But if you're like the average duopoly voter and you believe, and I've seen like maybe their stock puppet accounts on Twitter, there's a very strong chance of that, right? But I've seen like ordinary people like, yeah, come on, technically we gotta do something about TikTok because of China.
Oh my God, there's so much to debunk there. Nick, can you pull up the last tweet I sent you on that note? That
you already know. You already know, my friend.
Because first of all, this whole narrative that it's Chinese is so preposterous. Now, this is a MAGA account, so he's going to end it on a pro-Trump term. But these are just facts. I'm going to read it. The voting on the TikTok bill is scandalous. 60% of the company is owned by U.S. and international investors. 60%. 20% is owned by the company founders. 20% is owned by company employees, including over 7,000 Americans. Oh, those foreign meddlers.
Those secret Chinese. You already know Nancy Pelosi's up at night. Like, them fucking secret Chinese at TikTok.
Well, what is she going to do? Say tic-tac-toe again? The
great wisdom of Nancy Pelosi, ladies and gentlemen.
As of June 2022, 100% of all U.S. user traffic is routed to the Oracle Cloud infrastructure in the United States. And today, all access to that environment is managed exclusively by TikTok U.S. Data Security. TikTok Ltd. Was incorporated in the Cayman Islands and is based in both Singapore and Los Angeles. I could go on, but basically, nothing makes this Chinese. And China also, there's all these complaints about Chinese censorship. They have their own version of TikTok called Douyin. I'm not sure. They say Douyin at the end. I'm mispronouncing it. I'm sure I'm butchering it. But they have their own version, and it actually is heavily regulated because they had issues. Like there was one lady that posted her suicide. So they did pass regulations in order to protect their citizens, but it was from harmful content. And that's the kind of harmful content that Americans think that China is invading their living rooms and their children with through TikTok. I also don't think that this exclusively rests on Israel, because they were trying to pass this ban a year ago. And they were blaming, North Korea, Russia. There was a long list of countries, but it's always about control. And definitely Israel and what's happening in Palestine made it a more urgent matter, because it is allowing people to get educated. It is allowing people to organize. So that increases the threat. But ultimately, they don't want us having any social media that they can't control. And we know that Facebook and these other big companies like Twitter also have contracts with the military, Google as well. So they cooperate with the Pentagon in providing data on users. They are in our chats. They are in our private information, and they already, which Snowden revealed to us, and we already know, they have access to data on our phones, including our text messages, our videos, our routers, the cameras on our computers. They have all that access. What this bill does that is so dangerous is it gives them ways to prosecute us legally for things that we already, for spying, we know they've been committing for a long time.
Yeah, that's why I call this the Digital Patriot Act. I'm about to read that off very soon. So hold that thought, because I'm gonna read why I call this the Digital Patriot Act, because they want to ban websites that are subsidiaries are indirectly tied to foreign countries, foreign adversaries. So who makes that judgment? This is a way where they can easily censor people who don't repeat Pentagon propaganda. They can easily look at my hotspot videos and they can say, "Oh, well, you obviously are connected to China and Russia. You're rooting for them, so ban you." That's essentially how loose this language is. That's why a lot of people are concerned. If anyone think that you have intellectual scholars that, and you're thinking like, "Oh, Nick, come on, man, why are you being so dramatic?" They obviously know what they're doing. If you're one of the 17% of people in this country that approve of the work that Congress is doing, that's another reason, because younger people are largely post-duopolist because of TikTok. And I'm gonna show you guys a lot of receipts of why this is. I think them pouncing this fast is definitely due to Israel. Israel and the ADL and Zionist been complaining about TikTok for a very, very long time. And now the genocide happening and the corporate blackout is now working out. And now I think now they're like, all right, game time, as you guys seen with that leaked phone call. Now this is my senator, Josh Hawley. That's why I have a very vested interest in what he has to say. This is the level of intellect that come from the Republicans who've been cooking this up for quite some time.
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in Singapore.
Do you have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen. Your children are American citizens.
That's correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm Singaporean.
Let me ask you some hopefully simple questions. You said earlier, in response to a question, that what happened at Tiananmen Square in June of 1989 was a massive protest. Anything else happen in Tiananmen Square?
Yes, I think it's well documented. There was a massacre.
There was the indiscriminate slaughter of hundreds or thousands of Chinese citizens.
No, there was not. So you even have the TikTok guy who's more than happy to spread this long since debunked bullshit about Tiananmen Square that people still repeat. Show me the bodies of this Tiananmen Square massacre. Don't worry, I'll wait. Isn't it weird how China is always able to hide the bodies? They had a Uyghur genocide with no pictures of dead, dying children like we see in Gaza. Like the same way they had this massacre, but no children.
The Uyghur population is actually the only one that's ever been said to be involved in a genocide, and yet saw an increase in their population. Their numbers are increasing in China because the government takes care of them so well. And this line of questioning is just taking me back to McCarthyist times when senators were allowed to badger innocent civilians with preposterous accusations and bring up color revolution. Like TikTok or the Singaporean guy has anything to do with what happened in Tiananmen Square. They're trying to make that connection just for sound bites, and unfortunately that's enough to work on the American public.
And the TikTok CEO is forced to fall in love with their bullshit, because if the TikTok CEO guys tell the truth and say, "Hey, the fuck is your evidence about the Tiananmen massacre?" Then they would be like, "Yeah, see, this is evidence that he's a member of the Chinese Communist Party, even though he's Singaporean."
Of course, it's a very dangerous time.
So remember, this is my senator. You will know who the other choice is. The other choice is you had the senator, the Missouri senator that lost to Josh Hawley, Claire McCaskill, who on MSNBC, she's all for the TikTok ban too. And I still remember this clear as day, because people were trying to pressure me to vote for Claire McCaskill over this guy. But Claire McCaskill was running to his right. She was running on building the wall. She was saying he's too young and inexperienced. She has bipartisan experience to build the wall. So that's who Claire McCaskill is. But this is my standard. That's why I think it's very interesting to hear what he had to say, the quote unquote free speech, free market capitalist, small government guy. And you're going to hear a ton of bullshit. We saw CJ, he covered the liberal bullshit, the CNN coverage of this, where they were trying to pretend they care about protecting Americans. That's how they win the liberal voters over. They pretend, oh, we want to protect your children. There's online bullying. CJ covered a segment about this as well. We did a segment on Nick and CJ. Online bullying and taking care of your teenagers. That's how you win over the liberals. I'm gonna show you guys how they went over the conservatives, the Republicans who just pretend they was all for free speech, the conservatives who were just pretending they was against authoritarianism during COVID, but they completely turned their brain off regarding China, regarding socialism, regarding Venezuela, regarding Israel, and everything else. So let's get into this video. This is my standard. This is how the right wing is selling this fascist crack.
Major development on Capitol Hill today, where the House passed a bill by an unusually massive bipartisan margin, setting up an ultimatum. ByteDance, by the way, is the parent company of the social media app called TikTok. Either they sell the app or it gets banned. And this is a Chinese company, and Congress is rightly worried about China controlling one of the most popular social media apps in the country, which, by the way, the CIA director is warning could be used by China to influence U.S. elections. The bill now heads to where the Senate, where
they say it's going to influence U.S. elections. Why? Because they admit and say the quiet part out loud all the time. This is not about protecting Americans. It's about controlling the flow of information so people continue to vote for the duopoly. Because according to Sean Hannity, if people have alternative news, that will influence our elections. How? It will stop people from voting for Genocide Joe. It will stop people from joining the duopoly. They often say the quiet part out loud all the time, but let's continue.
the CIA director is warning could be used by China to influence U.S. elections. The bill now heads to where the Senate, where Chuck Schumer, he will have to decide what to do next. President Biden has said that he will sign the bill if the Senate passes it. Here now with reaction.
So do Republicans and do all the MAGA people who support this censorship never flinch when they hear those facts? Joe Biden is one to sign this bill. When they hear Nancy Pelosi says tic-tac-toe about banning TikTok, do they secretly think slay queen? Like, do the Republicans, when they hear Nancy Pelosi speak, damn, she's slaying? Is that what they think, or do they have to have some sort of cognitive dissonance where they are pretend that speech doesn't happen? Why is there no point where these Republicans like, nigga, I'm siding with Chuck Schumer, AOC, and Joe Biden?
Yeah.
They don't. If you're in a duopoly, you're brainwashed. Zoe, anything you want to add before we continue?
Well, that whole little phrase they had in quotes that they cannot rule out. You know, I cannot rule out that I'll be hungry in 15 minutes. I mean, I cannot rule out we're going to be nuked tomorrow. It's such a preposterous and manipulative way to deliver what is parading as news. Journalism is supposed to reveal information. This is all speculation based on paranoia without presenting any evidence. They're trying to frame the company as Chinese, which we just debunked, because without that, they don't have anything else. They already censor and regulate other social media platforms. There's nothing stopping them from just doing the same thing on TikTok. How many people have been removed from all sort of platforms for saying something that doesn't suit the establishment narrative? But instead, they're playing this whole game like TikTok is somehow uniquely dangerous by using the foreign boogeyman. And just like we had Russiagate, it looks like this year we're going to have Russiagate 2.0, or is it 3.0? I don't even know now, plus Chinagate, because now they need to blame 2 foreign entities, and that's the only way they're going to scare you out of your rights. But this bill effectively puts us under surveillance and removes our rights. It gives the state more power, more control, and ways to put us behind bars. That's the reality.
So this is the Trojan horse that we mentioned a few times. I want to show this before we continue the video, and you hear from my fascist senator, Josh Hawley. This so-called TikTok ban is a Trojan horse. The president will be given the power to ban websites, not just apps. The person breaking the new law is deemed to be the U.S. or offshore internet hosting service or app store, not the foreign adversary. So this is the part here. The term foreign adversary controlled application means a website, desktop application, mobile application, or augmented or immersive technology application that is operated directly or indirectly, including through a parent company, subsidiary, or affiliate. You guys see how this gets very scary? You guys see how they can quickly look at Nick Hotspot and be like, man, what's going on with Nick Hotspot? He's talking about Nord Stream pipeline, exposing our genocide. Like, this could be like, who are the people to deem someone a foreign adversary?
And this is why I said last time I was here that it is really ugly to me that Mr. West would go after any independent media, even if he disagrees with them, instead of protecting them. Knowing how fascist this country is, it actually puts people in danger. We've gone a little complacent and relaxed, but seeing the authoritarian way this country is going, I would not be surprised if independent media people start getting arrested and persecuted here. We've already seen it with whistleblowers. We see what happened with Julian Assange. Daniel Hale just got out of jail. All he did was reveal illegal activity that the U.S. was doing. So they have to stop truth tellers. So the worst thing you could possibly do, because someone offended you or upset you, is also side with the state and go after any independent media, because their lives are at risk. That's why I respect RBN and all the independent media that is covering things fairly and correctly. And they're really risking themselves. This is a risk. To me, this is a brave thing to be doing. You see, I keep my face off camera. Nick's on blast. He's exposed. He is putting himself out there to give a voice to the truth and justice and to stop these genocides and horrific baby murders across the globe. But this is a dangerous business.
Yeah, my previous professional career was ruined because of this. I am unemployable. Or being better succeed, or I'm fucked. Because guess who's Zionist going to cancel no matter what job I have for the rest of my life? You know how many Zionists are so fucking fuming on X that I don't have a manager to call? And I will never have a manager to call. I am unemployable. There's a lot of professional sacrifice made from here, which is why I don't ask my guests like Zoya to show their face here. Look at this part. Providing services to distribute, maintain, or update such foreign adversary control. I don't know why that looked weird to me. Controlled application, including any source code of such application by means of a marketplace, including any online store through which users within the land or maritime borders of the United States may access, maintain, or update such application, or any app or any service that provide internet hosting services. So you guys see how fucking broad this is? This is not about TikTok. This is not about TikTok. This is about their ability to regulate the flow of information. This is like, do people know what words mean? Like, this is what fascism means. This is a fascist policy. Anyway, let's get back to the Fox News video. We still got quite a bit to cover here. I think there's gonna be one topic. There's still quite a bit to cover. Let's continue. We gonna hear Josh Hawley spread bullshit. And this is bullshit that convince and scare a lot of these white boomers who watch Fox News.
He will have to decide what to do next. President Biden has said that he will sign the bill if the Senate passes it. Here now with reaction, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Senator, I'm not the most technical guy. I only know what I read. Peter Schweizer's new book is very definitive in the fact that the communist Chinese are saying, and top officials have said, that TikTok is a spying device that they're using against America. Is that your understanding?
100%. 100%, Sean. Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a reason that the Chinese Communist Party is so interested in TikTok. They're absolutely opposed to selling it. You know, back when Donald Trump as president said that we ought to ban TikTok, the Chinese Communist Party had a total meltdown about it. It's because they use the app to track our whereabouts. They track our data. They track our keystrokes. They want all of that information from America.
Bro, if the Chinese Communist Party is tracking my data, they might find a cat video or two. They may find a nature documentary I was watching. Who the fuck does this scare? Who will you rather? And you guys see I'm not even bothering to debunk it. Like, I'm taking their bullshit at face value. Who will you rather spy on you? Will you rather see the Chinese Communist Party see your cat videos, or the state that you live in that building cop cities that have a police force that will execute you, that have a CIA that will execute you? Why would you even be afraid of that? You already have the CIA spying on us. You already have mass surveillance by the most violent government in modern history, probably in human history. When you look at Vietnam, when you look at Cambodia, when you look at Korea, when you look at the fact that we the only country ever to drop the fucking nuke, but you worry about China? Like, taking their argument at face value, which you shouldn't. Why would you be scared? Well, I don't give a fuck with Xi Jinping, what he sees. I care about the police state. And only the biggest bootlegger to think otherwise. Go ahead, Zoya, and I'll let the video continue after you're done.
It's again, every accusation is a confession. Like he's talking about what the U.S. government is doing without flinching, and saying that if China does it, it's bad. So all these things have double standards. When other governments are doing it, it's bad. When we're doing it, it's to protect you. We need to know everywhere you're going, everything you're thinking, everything you're doing, and we'll arrest you for your safety. It's just pure projection and gaslighting, and he gets away with it because he's one of the top sellouts there and absolutely willing to be as unhinged as necessary to take away every right that we have.
Yeah, well said. Like, you guys know how unnerving it is to live in Missouri. Every time I see like an older white man, I'm like, man, there's a good chance this motherfucker voted for Josh Hawley. How do you coexist with people who vote for this guy? Very weird. Anyway, let's continue.
Americans, and this is about putting Americans back in charge. And get China off of our cell phones, get China out of our media. Let's give Americans control of their lives back.
Well, I'd also add, maybe we should not allow Chinese nationals to be buying up thousands and thousands of acres of farmland, ranch land, and land near military installations. Would you be opposed? Because I don't think I would be. I think I would have a lot of faith and trust in Americans to, in fact, buy TikTok and get rid of any spy mechanism that might be associated with it. I don't know, Elon Musk, any billionaire that wanted to buy it.
Did you guys hear what he just said? He said, I don't know about you guys, but I would trust the Americans to handle TikTok. We should have an American billionaire buy TikTok. I'm sure that billionaire won't spy on us. You guys hear that?
And
the
you know,
American billionaire is definitely spying on us. Go ahead, Zoya.
And you know what's funny about that? I saw today that Steve Mnuchin is forming some kind of group to pull
we get that.
Oh, okay, I'm ahead.
No, it's all good. You don't know what I'm going to cover, so I don't mean to cut you off. But we definitely gonna get to that. So I want you guys to see this part again. This is clown shit. Well, you can expect it from Sean Hannity. I don't cover Sean Hannity often. This is like maybe the 1 or 2 times you've seen him on this channel for a year. But CJ covered the liberal media, the CNN segment on this. I want to show you guys how the right wing is on this, because they are the biggest frauds. Because liberals like, nigga, we don't give a fuck about free speech. Liberals was open about it. Yeah, nigga, we should regulate the fuck out of social media. People like Josh Hawley were just complaining about liberals and social justice warriors who wanted to regulate social media, essentially because Josh Hawley and his fans wanted to say racial slurs on social media. They don't care about free speech. That's always what it was. They always was down with pro-Palestinian protesters, people who post about Palestine being censored. What they want white people to say racial slurs on social media without any consequence. That's what they want. So it's weird that they go from that to all of a sudden they're like, yeah, nigga, we need to regulate social media. Just I'm a liberal too. That's how many times have you guys seen me say I call Trump supporters shit libs too? They all liberals. They all neoliberals. You gotta know if I really got into weeds when I say that Sean Hannity and Josh Hawley are right wingers. Claire McCaskill is a right winger too. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they're right wingers too. And I know maybe some new viewers watching like, what are you talking about? They all agree on the TikTok ban. They all agree with the Israel genocide. They all agreed on the harsh police state neoliberal border policies that don't work. So that's why they got to make up fucking bullshit culture issues that had nothing to do with politics. I hate pronouns. I love pronouns. We're enemies now. No, you're not. You barely disagree on shit. You guys make up shit to disagree on.
They all agree. They all agree on tax cuts for the rich. They all agree on Ukraine funding. They all agree on prosecuting homeless encampments and houseless people. They all agree on anything that hurts the working class. They all agree on tax cuts for the rich. I mean, they agree on anything that screws us. What they can't agree on is anything that would benefit us.
Yeah, let's continue. You guys see this video not too long. That's another reason why I want to play. I can't stand Sean Hannity for that long. But you guys see he plays a very important role. He's been in that job for a very long time. He pushes culture wars to get people to ignore the class wars. And then he also pushes hardcore capitalist authoritarian policies. Meanwhile, this guy wants to convince you that Russia and China and Venezuela and other countries are authoritarian. As they pass a bill to ban TikTok, remember the institution that only has I misquoted. I keep doing it when I keep saying that Congress has a 17% approval rating. Fam, I keep misstating it. It's actually 14%. I keep using the old number. The new number is 14%. So the institution that has a 14% approval rating is going to silence the free speech of Americans because they are getting information that dissents from the main narrative. That is the definition of tyranny. But anyway, let's finish this video. You hit a lot of points I'm gonna cover. I wanted to cover later, so I think I may be taking too long to get through these. So let's get through this video, and I'm gonna cover. After this, we're gonna really dive in why I say it's definitely Israel. There are a lot of factors, you know what I mean, why they doing this, but the genocide is the number one thing, and I'm gonna explain in an upcoming here very soon. Let's continue.
Talk and get rid of any spy mechanism that might be associated with it. I don't know, Elon Musk, any billionaire that wanted to buy it. I think I'd have a lot more confidence in it. Would you?
Absolutely. If this were owned by an American company or an American individual, group of individuals, that'd be fine. I mean, what needs to happen here is there needs to be a firewall between TikTok and Beijing, because the whole deal is all the information TikTok gets from Americans is available to the Chinese Communist Party. That's the problem. That's why it's a security threat. That's why they want to get into our phones so they can get this information on us. We need to put up a firewall. If they would sell TikTok, that's fine. If they won't sell them, then we're going to have to ban it.
Okay, if you ban it, I'm sure some kids will be upset by it, but they probably would be a competitor that would fill that void, I imagine, because it's pretty.
Well, I made this point earlier, but what happened to the free market? I thought you guys were all for the free market. You guys sound like fucking Rachel Maddow right now. Here are two conservatives who think they are opposite of the political on politics than Rachel Maddow, but they're not. You guys have the same ideology of harsh regulation of the market. Which is why I believe I believe we should have a dictatorship of the proletariat, an actual coherent central planning model that put our needs above. They pretend they don't have a coordinated central planning model. People think that capitalism is not central planning. Like I hear capitalists all say all the time, "Oh, I oppose central planning." This is central planning. They pick the winners and losers in this country all the time. They call subsidies. They get subsidies to businesses so they want to see succeed. Many of those policies that I support and any rational person should support. Any rational person should support subsidies that go to farmers and help keep food prices down. That's a rational policy that anyone would support. But the capitalists will tell you that they don't believe in regulation. They believe in a free market as they get subsidies out. That is a contradiction. Now, I'm very open about the fact that I believe that you should have a coherent central planning model. So yeah, let's get subsidies to farmers so food prices stay low. Let's provide health care to people so there's not private taxes that makes families unable to spend. It limits the purchasing power of families when they got to pay private premiums. Like the ideology that I have as a Marxist, as a socialist, is actually coherent. Capitalism is a form of a central planning model that is dictated on the wills of people who control and own capital. The people who control and own capital in this country are the Zionists. And the Zionists wanted Israel to be banned, not Israel to be banned, TikTok to be banned. So what happened? TikTok was banned. The capitalist class wanted to see cop cities pop up all over the country. So what happened, Zoya? We got cop cities popping up all over the country. You guys see how it really works?
Yeah, every state right now has a cop city project in the works. It has blown up. That's why it's so essential to stop it in Atlanta while we can. But I wanted to expand on what you're saying about capitalism, because people still think we're talking about, some tiny village centuries ago where, there's two blacksmiths and the better blacksmith is going to win by competition and boom, capitalism works. That's not what's happening. The competition that we've had going on for centuries means that there's a winner and a loser, and the winner gets a larger market share. Now, since that has been happening throughout time, we had certain companies gobble up smaller competitors and become monopolies. It's CJ's face on your screen.
Yeah, I had to change it.
It was funny.
I always have CJ as default because CJ is the fucking man. But go ahead.
So capitalism inevitably leads to monopolies. Monopolies end up buying politicians because politicians are dependent on their donations to campaign. That way, capitalists end up writing the policies. They're doing it through lobbyists. Politicians do not write the laws in this country. So capitalism as we have it today in modern times leads to monopoly, which puts the power to corrupt our political structures in the hands of billionaires.
Yeah, let's continue this video. Man, we still got a lot to cover. I wanted to cover Macron, but I don't know if we got time. We see. Let's continue this video.
Popular among kids. How do we know that they're doing this? And if we've known this and you're 100% certain, then that means everybody in Washington knows this. Why has nothing been done up to this point? Why again are we allowing Chinese nationals to buy up our farmland, ranch land, and land near military installations? Have we forgotten they're our number one geopolitical foe? Are people just not aware of it? Because it seems so obvious to me.
Yeah, I think the answer to that, Sean, is money. TikTok has spread money around Washington like you wouldn't believe. Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden says out of one corner of his mouth, oh, yeah, we ought to get tough on TikTok. Out of the other side of his mouth, he's on TikTok, out there soliciting votes on TikTok, out there trying to build up a political base. He's got advisors all around him who are pro-TikTok. So the deal is TikTok has enormous, enormous influence. And you're right, China's buying our farmland. They're buying industrial capacity. Now they want to buy our media. That's what this is. They want control of American media. We need to say no to all of that. No to this foreign influence. Americans ought to own this stuff, and Americans ought to be in charge of it.
Hey, the biggest Zionist bootlicking piece of shit little bitch of all time talking about no to foreign influence. I need to move on. I don't even want to spend time debunking that. I think you guys are smart enough to realize that.
One more quick.
Go ahead, Zoya.
So they also mentioned, it should belong to a good American like Elon Musk. Elon Musk was born in Africa. Why isn't he in front of Congress being questioned about his spy activities and allegiance to Africa and all of these things? It's these double standards. so
not even remotely coherent.
Yeah, even their own examples don't stand up to the test of logic.
And Elon Musk bowed down to Netanyahu in Israel. And now if you go on X, you see a bunch of Zionist IDF tweets constantly promoted, constantly pushed in the algorithm. You constantly see very accurate pro-Palestinian tweets get community noted. And it's often false information. But the reason why that's significant is because they use community notes as a way to demonetize. So Elon Musk is doing the bidding of Zionists by falsely demonetizing people who are posting pro-Palestinian content. But people think he's an anti-establishment figure. You have community notes on X. And according to X, we got 600 people watching, which I don't necessarily. I'll tell you guys, I don't fucking believe these X numbers, bro. X is shady. X is extremely shady. But X do a lot of extremely pro-Zionist shit. And that's exactly why Josh Hawley wants Elon Musk to own TikTok now, because they already bowed down to the Zionists. But go ahead. There's a lot of people that believe he's like free speech, anti-establishment. It's a joke. Like Tucker and them, they still pretend that Elon Musk is not a Zionist puppet. Here you have one of the Republicans, Mike Gallagher, who's just open. He don't even do like the bullshit that Josh Hawley and Sean Hannity does, where they got to trick the Republican side of the duopoly, pretend it's about China. He just openly admits what it's about. It's about controlling the flow of information.
The only impacted sites are those associated with foreign adversary apps, such as TikTok.com. It can never be used to penalize individuals. The text explicitly prohibits that, and it cannot be used to censor speech. It takes no position at all on the content of speech, only foreign adversary control. Foreign adversary control of what is becoming the dominant news platform for Americans under 30. This is a common sense measure to protect our national security. I urge my colleagues to support this critical bipartisan legislation.
Okay,
there it is.
Sorry, this is really important. He's the one that actually introduced this bill, HR 7521. So he's the one that is behind sponsoring the bill. And what he's saying here, part of the reason he's emphasizing it so much is because the ban on TikTok, the bill that was introduced a year ago, actually did go after Americans personally. There was threat of imprisonment for 20 years and $1 million fine. So that is what they removed, updating this bill from a year ago, and made it into this much broader definition, which puts it at the president's discretion to decide who's doing the bidding of foreign interference.
Which is insane. Once again, this is why you gotta see U.S. views on top of opinionated Israel-Hamas TikTok hashtags. Free Palestine is whooping that ass. So to explain what this graph is, the red is the pro-Palestine hashtags. On top, you see Free Palestine. You also see Free Palestine with the Palestine flag with the heart emoji as well. You got Free Gaza, Free Palestine, Palestine TikTok, Save Gaza, Stand with Palestine. For example, many different variations of pro-Palestinian hashtags. All of them do way more than the highest pro-Israel tag. You have I Stand with Israel. You see that little blue right there with 2 million? I get it's 7 days between and start from December 22nd. That's where the data come from. So essentially, pro-Palestinian content dominates TikTok. And that's why they say it's a national security threat. And you have Zionists that have been bitching about this for quite some time, but you had the corporate media that plan on doing a complete blackout of the genocide in Gaza, which everyone see how bad it is because of social media. We're seeing dead and mutilated children, entire families being wiped out. And they knew how bad this was for their PRs, which is why they lost the public relations war. It's beyond gone. When you lost 58% of white evangelicals, and I will be watching that number. We see if that was an outlier. I will be watching. I will update you guys. Because there's still part of me that thinks that's an outlier. But when you have 58% of white evangelicals, majority of Jewish Americans, around 75% of Jewish Democrats that are calling for a ceasefire, that's because you guys are getting destroyed in the battle of public opinion because of TikTok, and they know it. So listen to this.
We really have a TikTok problem.
Sorry, this video is kind of low, but you can see the subtitles there as well. I can sum it up. It's kind of low.
So we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem. Because again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide. It's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation. And our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Tagli, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations, need to put our energy towards this, like fast. So
we need to put our energy into this TikTok like fast. And then what happened? TikTok gets banned. Now, a lot of people seem to forget or misunderstand because I had a TikTok account that was banned because of my Ukraine hotspots, and I had to make another one. TikTok is not necessarily a free speech platform. You guys realize that, right? It's not necessarily a free speech platform. It never was. TikTok is owned by a bunch of NATO people. Ask Midwestern marks how many times they've been banned on TikTok. So TikTok was never this free speech platform. But the Gaza genocide, bro, they can't shut that shit down. That is what made the Zionists swoop in. They had to come in and swoop up TikTok because they cannot control the narrative. During the genocide, and this is what a lot of Zionists, the short-sighted Zionists, I'm glad they missed this, because what do you guys think post-genocide is going to look like? Like, people are going to fucking forget this? They were pariahs forever. So they trying to manage post-genocide social media content as well. This is what it's all about. Controlling the narrative. And I know because we do this thing on our being called propaganda report. People are like, why you do propaganda? I study what our enemies say. Because when you study what our enemies say, you know exactly what's coming. TikTok ban does not surprise me. I was warning you guys about this. We have done segments where they talk about online harassment. Remember all the segments I did about the rise of anti-Semitism online? This, you can say this stream is just one of many segments I am doing. Because I have snuffed this problem out before it even became a thing. That's why RBN is usually ahead, because we are watching what our enemies say. So this doesn't surprise me. And this is why when this TikTok ban happened, I immediately went on Twitter and told you guys that this was about Israel. The entirety of the right was pretending about anything else other than Israel. Meanwhile, here's our favorite channel, our favorite show on RBN. At least my favorite propaganda show to analyze. Because this is straight up state media, Morning Joe. We've seen this before on RBN, but this is why we are seeing this TikTok ban. I'm just now realizing we're almost an hour in. Where the fuck does the time go when we live together, Zoe? What the hell?
I know.
What the fuck? It's an hour already? Anyway, let's continue this video. No pressure, but I might cover the Macron thing on Saturday if you want to join me Saturday, but no pressure. Oh man, it's crazy. Already an hour in. But anyway, let's go to this video where Morning Joe laid out this strategy that we were seeing unfold.
Let's be frank about it. We've been on this show. We've talked about Instagram. We've talked about Twitter or X, and you've seen my back and forth with Elon Musk. But we need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism with no repercussions. I've got to ask, Joe, like there's been a lot of lamentations about the fact that TikTok's ownership is Chinese, but you know what? Oracle owns 10% of the company. General Atlantic owns a piece of the company. Our friends at Sequoia Capital own a piece of the company. So does Sequoia and General Atlantic, does Oracle want to be responsible for spreading anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism?
Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. Yes, they try to conflate those two things. Also, this headline cracks me up. Look at the headline here. Israel-Hamas war sparks numerous divisions. You mean the people who are against genocide versus the people who are for genocide? Are you talking about those divisions? And I don't know about you guys, but when you have 70%, and I covered this in the hotspot I released last week, 70% of Jewish Democrats want a ceasefire. Are they anti-Semites? Are they anti-Zionists? I'm sure many of those 70% Jewish Democrats believe in the Zionist project, believe that Hamas shouldn't exist, that Hamas should be defeated. But even they think, oh man, this is too much. But to them, the sentiment against genocide is a division. But anyway, let's continue the video. Feel free to interrupt anytime, Zoya. I'm just trying to speed up a little bit. Feel free to interrupt anytime.
It's time to talk about TikTok. And I think we need members of Congress to be asking them, why are they doing enough? And let me be clear. I've met with Shou Chu, the CEO. I've talked to their leadership, but it is long past time for TikTok and its owners and its investors to step up and say, enough, we're going to take action.
Yeah. Frank,
look how confident that he is that shit's going to happen. These are the people who pretend that they are a victim group. Zionist Jews. Oh, we are so victims. They can get congressional hearings at a snap of a finger and they pretend they're victims. Look at how confident that he is that something will be done about TikTok. Remember, this is an old clip. When we talk about what we want to see done for the Black community, we talk about actions that has to be done. We talk about a devastating fight that may take years, where there are going to be casualties probably. Meanwhile, he's like, man, we got to get investors in line. We got to get a bill crafted. You had privileged college kids getting congressional hearings. What, Zoe? Have you ever got a congressional hearing? I never got a congressional hearing. Meanwhile, they want to pretend they're the victims.
I don't want a congressional hearing.
Yeah, we don't want one.
I mean, I'm out of words. You know, things just keep going into more and more grayer areas. And I saw a statistic today from UNRWA, the one whose funding was frozen because of false accusations, that there are more children that died in Palestine than in all the wars in the last 4 years combined. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that 30,000 number hasn't shifted in a while because we're not getting updates anymore since there's so much chaos on the ground. If anyone in the chat has heard of any updates from that number, it has to be higher. It's been like a month that we've been using that number. So
I think it's between 100 to 200,000. I'll believe what Ralph Nader said. I think that makes more sense.
It definitely makes more sense than that frozen number. And imagine without TikTok, we wouldn't even have those numbers. So whatever these dinosaurs are peddling and trying to shape your mind into thinking is completely disconnected from reality. And like Nick pointed out, TikTok was already being censored. I'm glad you brought up Midwestern Marx. All he was doing was explaining socialism and communism. He wasn't even saying anything that serves a foreign government or anything that they mention. And still, they can go after you. So I just see the police state increasing its power, and I don't think it's any one group. I think the ruling class has solidarity that I envy, honestly. I wish that the proletariat had the solidarity that the ruling class does, because ultimately, Micah and Hannity, they're at the same dinner parties. They're not like seeing each other and punching each other in the face. They have cocktails together. They have class interests. They're always going to end up siding with the establishment. Their job is just to create a fake fight to turn us on each other, so we never notice who's actually got their boot on our necks.
Big shout out to Glenn Greenwald. who I found this from. This is another reason why I say this is, and you're 100% right, Zoe. This is a lot of different factors. When I say this is Israel, that's the primary factor. That's the most important letter of the equation. If you take it out, the equation doesn't work. That's how important the Israel part is. There's a lot of different reasons for it, though. Now, this is from the Wall Street Journal. That's the one I'm going to read first. And then I'm going to read The Economist, where they just outright say it. Here's the title of the Wall Street Journal article that released yesterday. How TikTok was blindsided by a U.S. bill that can ban it. It was slow going until October 7th. I'm going to continue with the highlighted portions. People who historically hadn't taken a position on TikTok became concerned with how Israel was portrayed in the videos and what they saw as an increase in anti-Semitic content posted to the app. And to be honest, I don't know who those people are. They could honestly be liberals, and they also could be like the free speech conservatives who are like, I don't know about the TikTok thing for real. I can see liberals like, I'm not really for ban TikTok. And then those same loyalists who are Zionists saw the anti-Israel content. I think the more Democrat liberal people was upset how genocide Joe Biden was being portrayed. And once they saw that, a lot of people who wasn't on the hardcore Josh Hawley banned TikTok for years, they then changed their mind because they saw Israel being exposed. This is exactly why I say that this is 100% Israeli doing. This is another example of how Israel pushes the most extreme fascist and pro-censorship ideology on the United States. Because this was like the genocide was all right, we gotta get this in action. We've been talking about this. We've been like preparing the population. We was cooking this. We was in the lab preparing this psyop to get people okay with us. No. We gotta move right now. Enough of that bullshit. If you was one of the people that was if we assigned you the role of being on the fence, your role has changed. You're now for banning TikTok. That was the mention of the establishment. They talk about this guy, Anthony Goldblum, who's a San Francisco-based data scientist. He found far more views for video. We already covered this. This is how they pretty much talking about how they found more pro-Palestinian content. And it was like, oh my God, this shows how China is manipulating the youth because pro-Palestinian content is popular. No, pro-Palestinian content is popular, not because the algorithm manipulating it. It's because people see Israel as the genocidal scum that they are. And our generation, 30 and younger, is most likely going to call out the apartheid genocidal state of Israel and support Palestine instead of the boomers who was brainwashed over this issue for the most part. So that's Wall Street Journal admitting it. I read The Economist. Once again, big shout out to Glenn Greenwald for posting this. The proposal, and their article is called, Will TikTok Still Exist in America? The proposal gained momentum partly as a result of a disquiet over the app's handling of misinformation and anti-Semitic content following Hamas' attack on Israel in October.
And that's supposed to be false information from China? Is that the accusation that we needed China to tell us that? I mean, at least blame Iran. That's usually who's blamed for any disinformation on Israel. What interest would China have to do this? To have domestic unrest, I guess. You know what I've been reflecting on for a while. There's been a lot of genocides, a lot that didn't get this kind of traction, and one of them is Congo. It's been going on for decades now. 6 million people dead, half of them under the age of 5. So that's 3 million dead under the age of 5. There was no coverage. There was no outrage. And people from Congo and others do post footage. It's not like it doesn't exist. It just doesn't get any traction. So I wonder if TikTok actually was a turning point in radicalizing people and organizing them and getting them out into the streets. If TikTok was around when things started in Congo, would we be protesting then? That's what's been on my mind lately, because I love the response we're getting to Palestine. I just want us to stay disorganized on every issue, on every genocide.
You guys know that Israel got their filthy genocidal hands on everything. You guys think this is their first rodeo, their first genocide? So Israel is big into the diamond industry, and they are funding and they are a big supporter of the genocide going on in the Congo right now. But you have what was it, like 20%? 1 out of 5, mostly the black conservatives. I've seen many of them. There was one black conservative, I don't need to say his name. There was one big prominent black conservative that followed me. I always found it weird. And he was like, yeah, man, I know you're Marxist. I'm a hardcore right-wing conservative, but I find your politics interesting. No need to say this guy now. Danner forget. He got a big Twitter account. The Israel-Hamas thing, when I started defending Hamas, that is what did it. I found it. There's so many examples of that. It's very funny to me. Like this black conservative guy, he used to like my tweets all the time too. It wasn't until October 7th where I was like, Hamas had the right to defend myself. This motherfucker hard blocked me, fam. Like he used to be like, man, I love how you challenge the narratives. I love how you challenge the Ukraine narrative. I talked to the guy, I thought it was interesting. The Israel-Hamas war, bro, done, blocked, no explanation. So I don't understand how you can be one of these black conservative Zionists and you see how Israel support the genocide in the Congo and that doesn't move you at all. But I guess in order to be a black conservative, like many black liberals, they don't feel kinship with Africans. That's my biggest beef with the Adolf movement, who also shun anyone who's not a black American. I'm like, sir, are you serious? I feel deep solidarity with Haitians, with Cubans, you know what I mean, with my black global South brothers and sisters. And that's always been the tension I had and Arby had with Adolf, who like, oh, fuck anyone who's not a black American. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's so absurd. I lean more towards the Pan-African side, if you guys don't know. Now, this is what you wanted to mention earlier, that I wanted to save this at the main event.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. So I think on Saturday, the Nick at noon, I'm gonna cover the Macron, because I don't want to speed over that. And by Saturday, there's gonna be a lot of full updates. We're gonna cover that for maybe like 5 minutes. We're not gonna do a long segment on it. I want to get your thoughts. I'm gonna introduce it, but this is gonna be mostly our last little receipt here. So if the whole stream you probably watching like, Nick, you fucking anti-Semitic piece of shit. Are you saying that this is a Zionist scheme? Are you saying that Jews secretly control the world? No, I'm just using basic common sense. Zionists, not Jews. Zionists do control the West, though. I don't know how anyone can deny that. Very funny how they turned that to an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Very smart of them, too. Are you saying Jews run the world? No, we're saying Zionists run the world, motherfucker. Don't put shit don't put words in my mouth. Remember, 70% of Jewish Democrats support a ceasefire. Are they getting it? Nope. So Jews don't run the world. Zionists run the world. Do you guys understand? And now they didn't have control of one fucking thing. They didn't have control of one fucking thing. TikTok. So they concocted this plan so they can have Zionist control of TikTok and the app. Steve Mnuchin, one of the most unhinged Zionists that you can possibly find, he's now putting his band together. His band of capitalist Zionists. They're putting together an investor group to buy TikTok. Do you guys really trust these motherfuckers? Do you guys trust this genocidal asshole to moderate content on TikTok? If the answer to that question is yes, which is 81% of Congress, which is Sean Hannity, Josh Hawley, and all their supporters, everyone to support the ban TikTok, you are a bootlicker of the highest order. If you're a working class person, you are a class traitor of the highest order. So Zoe, I know you want to chime in on this. I'm sorry I cut you off earlier. Maybe I should have led with this because I know you were chomping at the bit to get to this. When you hear it, when you see this, just wrap the bow on my point. that this is clearly a tactic by Zionists to control the narrative during and post-genocide. Zoe, anything you want to add before we briefly cover the Macron story?
Well, the reason I inserted that earlier is obviously I never watched Fox, but what they were saying was, to me, manufacturing consent for this to happen. They're saying it like it's a hypothetical. Like you know what would be good is if some American would take over. They already know this is already in the works. This is already the plan, and they're just putting the idea in our head that it's okay for and this is a foreign affiliated entity, AIPAC, and all these other Zionist organizations that have an alliance to a foreign country, not America. They have obviously an influence that cannot be contained, that gets quickly turned into policy. If you look at documentaries on AIPAC, they'll show you how AIPAC shows up to these politicians running for office, makes them agree to basically bend the knee to this particular policy. And if they don't agree to do that, they will fund their opponents. And this has been continuing cycle after cycle. So now they have all of these politicians in power, Republican and Democrat, that all favor Israel. And even Mao said, this is prescient because it's decades ago, that Israel is just a Western base in the Middle East. The reason Israel is so important to America is because it's how they maintain that their control in the region. It's like this unholy alliance between them. And we can see in policy and in action that they're completely hypocritical on the sovereignty of Ukraine and vilifying Russia, while at the same time not recognizing the sovereignty of Palestine. So what is this rules-based order that came from the Immaculate Garden of Europe and the West, where they lay out policies that only others are bound to follow, and they can absolutely violate with impunity? And it's unfortunate. We know that money controls politics, and we know that these organizations realize that and organized in a way that I wish that we would. Why aren't we walking into politicians' offices and demanding that they bend the knee to the will of the people? We don't have to use money. We have force. We have numbers. We pay taxes. We can shut the whole system down. Why aren't we leveraging our own power and doing exactly what AIPAC does, only for the people? So I watch how all of these entities move with envy, because I really want this for us. I really want us to be able to leverage power against these politicians in the way that they do, for our interests. And until we're able to leverage our power concedes nothing without a demand. We're never going to get anything out of them. All I've seen in my lifetime is all of our rights getting eroded, and the country of freedom and democracy having the largest prison population on earth. Well, we only have 5% of the world's population, and it's only getting worse. And I'm sorry, this is why every stream I go so hard at you guys, because it's one thing to inform you, but I need all of us to turn to action. Unless we organize and do something about this, they out-organized us. These people out-organized us, and that's why they control.
So you have, I need liberals to explain to me why I should have Trump derangement syndrome when Trump is apparently more moderate than 81% of Congress, which includes Democrats and Republicans. Well, I need people to understand. I'm not trying to mislead. Obviously, Trump is a Zionist. He's going to do the bidding of Israel. But what does it say about the unhinged uniparty that Trump can get this issue right, but not them? Listen to that. I was actually shocked when I heard this, because you have Donald Trump that is outflanking the entirety of the Democratic Party. You know, the same people that want to convince you to have Trump derangement syndrome, he's outflanking them on civil liberties, and they try and pretend that he want to be a dictator. Listen to this.
Frankly, there are a lot of people on TikTok that love it. There are a lot of young kids on TikTok who will go crazy without it. There are a lot of users. There's a lot of good, and there's a lot of bad with TikTok. But the thing I don't like is that without TikTok, you can make Facebook bigger. And I consider Facebook to be an enemy of the people, along with a lot of the media.
So you have Trump that make the very accurate assumption that by banning TikTok, you favor the other social media corporations, which is why a lot of Democrats support this TikTok ban, because they are financed by these big tech companies that have a vested interest in seeing TikTok put down. This is another example, and this is what one of the statements I've seen from a Chinese official, what he was saying, he's like, this is another example how America can't compete in the market because Chinese social media apps are kicking their ass. There's a story I didn't have a chance to cover. I might be able to find it. I don't got time, but there's a story how United States big tech companies are very upset and concerned because Chinese social media apps are kicking their asses in Africa. Like, social media apps are blowing up, especially in Kenya, in Nigeria, and South Africa, and the smartphones and apps that are dominating the market are Chinese apps and Chinese phones because they are much better. So you guys see how the only way they can have social media companies compete with TikTok is by having American capitalists benefit from it, is by banning it. And then what Trump is kind of acknowledging, like, man, we don't fucking like Facebook either. So if you ban TikTok, you just benefiting Facebook. And then also he brings up in the very beginning, he's like, man, a lot of the young kids, I don't like TikTok, man. I'm a boomer. I don't like TikTok. But the young kids really fucking like it. And that would be horrible if you ban something that the young kids like. So Zoya, look at what's happening here. You have Trump that defending young people's right to use TikTok, as Joe Biden said he's going to sign a bill, as Democrats are fighting hard for the TikTok ban. So now you're going to have Trump in his election that's going to tell young people that I was there to protect TikTok while Biden and Democrats wanted to ban it. Sounds like a great electoral strategy for Democrats, right? Surely this will work well for Democrats with young people in upcoming election, right? Now, this poll has to be an outlier, right? Right? Because this dynamic I'm explaining to you guys is one of the reasons why this poll is somewhat believable. Where a most recent general election poll had Trump up plus 12 from people 18 to 34, which is insanity. Insanity. So it's not about whether I believe Trump will sign a bill. I need you guys to think about this. Think. It's not fucking about that, my friends. Trump is a salesperson. Trump signing or not signing the bill is irrelevant. He's in an election year, and he's going to say the thing that's going to help him win the election, my friends. So he's going to pretend he's going to give this, whether he's going to sign it or not, was going to be a huge electoral advantage for Trump. So for all the Democrats that say this is the most important election of our lifetime, that we got to defend democracy by defending Trump, isn't it funny that they're willing to allow Trump to have this massive lane, whether you're going to support TikTok, the freedom of speech or not? Whether that happens is irrelevant to my analysis. But why would they leave this lane open to Trump? That's my point. Zoe, I saw you on mute. Anything you want to add?
Just that Democrats have done the impossible and made Trump sound reasonable.
They do it. They do it all the time. Like this should never even be coverage like this, because whenever Trump gets something right, it should be opportunity for the duopoly to get it right. Because if Trump gets it right, how the fuck are you not getting it right? But the only reason we cover this like this, the only reason I cover it like this, I should say, because I want to emphasize how bad Democrats are. Why having Trump derangement syndrome is absurd. Have you guys seen how they're attacking Trump for this? Liberals are attacking Trump for this. Josh Hawley and Sean Hannity, they're trying their best to pretend that Trump didn't say that just now. You guys notice that? You know, it's how Josh Hawley like, yeah, during the Trump administration, he supported TikTok ban. Trump flip-flopped like he does. And now they can't wrap their minds around it. And now you want to know how liberals are attacking Trump for this? Fucking beyond parody.
Oh my God.
So liberals are trying to pretend that Trump standing up for young people's freedom of speech, that's him being bought off by billionaires. Like, you can't even make this up, bro. Look at this headline. I'll read it for people only listening. Trump's TikTok flip. He did flip-flop on this issue, to be 100% clear, because I think, as I said before, a lot of people was talking shit about this for political reasons. They want to sound tough on China. You know what I mean? This is my personal theory. I have nothing to back this up. It's a theory. All these people were talking hard, like Trump was talking tough on TikTok. Didn't think it was going to happen. He just wanted to sound tough on China. Now that it's actually about to happen, Trump like, no. This is horrible idea. That's my personal theory with no facts behind it, why I think Trump flipped. But they said Trump TikTok flip raises concern over billionaire clout. The former president's unexpected support for TikTok appears to align with the interests of a billionaire backer for the second time. So because liberals been using lawfare on Trump, he owes like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I haven't been following these cases that much, but he owes like all this money. And now Democrats who said they're doing it not because of the election, they're bragging about the fact that Trump is struggling with money. So the new narrative now is that, man, Trump is so broke, he's struggling because of all these legal bills. How can we be sure that he's not going to be bought up by a billionaire? This is a national security concern. He owes all this money. So does that mean he could be bought off by an Iranian oligarch? Can a Chinese oligarch buy him off? Can he be bought off by a Putin oligarch? And I'm telling you guys this because I know you guys don't follow the mainstream narrative. That's what they say about Trump now. So when they're pretending that Trump flop on TikTok is him being changing his position because of billionaires, even though Facebook, Instagram, Zionist capitalists are the ones who are pressuring Democrats.
Unbelievable.
Doesn't even have to make sense. Last thing I want to bring up, because I thought this was funny. I made it funny on Twitter, so I had to share it with you guys. Because I'm one of the people that I was thinking about this because I saw a few. I went on TikTok. I rarely go on TikTok. I went on TikTok to see the reaction, and of course, I seen Harry Sisson, our favorite young Gen Z Democrat operative. And when I saw this video, I had this thought. I seen this tweet that did very well. Think about all these young Gen Z TikTok kids that told people to vote blue. Like Harry Sisson had all these vote blue videos in the midterms. And now you can see these countless videos on TikTok where even Democrat operatives, because they make their career on TikTok, like, man, this is horrible. Here's Harry. I'm not going to play the video for a second time. No reason to. He essentially says, man, this shit is horrible for us. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm very disappointed that Democrats are doing this. That's it. And I was like, whoa, what? So you have these young Gen Z liberal TikTok kids that essentially lobbied again. They lobbied their own careers away by telling people to vote blue. And that's fucking hilarious to me that they allowed this to happen. Because 81% of the Congress, largely supported by Democrats, supported this bill. So by you telling people to vote Democrats last year because you thought Trump and the Republicans going to bring fascism, you just played yourself, homie. And now your TikTok career is fucked. Here's another Gen Z TikTok Democrat kid. Look at this. Gen Z Democrat, TikTok. Congress and the White House owe it to the American people to show us the evidence they have regarding security concerns with TikTok. Well, they don't owe you shit, Chris, because they know you're gonna vote for them no matter what, Chris. 170 million active users and lack of transparency along with the confusion is unacceptable. People have built their livelihood on TikTok, And you threw that livelihood away, Chris, because you wanted to be a Democrat operative. Sorry, I had to end it with at least some positivity at the end, right? Because I found this fucking hilarious. Gen Z Democrat TikTok kids are now realizing they fucked around and found out. They thought that the Democrats was the answer to fascism. And now all these Democrat TikTok people have to explain to their audience and their constituency what the fuck just happened. These people are generational traitors, the likes we have never seen before. Zoya, any thoughts? I'm gonna read this because we mentioned it. I don't want to leave people hanging. So we mentioned it a few times, and it's not even a segment. You can call this a preview. I want to take my time with this. There's a lot that's going on with France. Nick at noon this Saturday. We can talk a little bit after. I'm gonna at least try at least one guest with this, because essentially France is panicking. There was an assessment done by France where they calculated that this war is over and it's mathematically and statistically impossible for Ukraine to win the war. And because of that, Emmanuel Macron floated the idea of putting troops on the ground. I did a segment on this. What was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago? I covered how Emmanuel Macron essentially saying that EU need to put boots on the ground. And when he said that, he was essentially mocked by the entirety of Europe. He was essentially scorned by the world leader, by like people like Biden, Germany, the UK. They were like, nigga, you're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud. They were so upset. And they rebuked Emmanuel Macron and publicly humiliated him. Russia had a PR field day with it. And that did not make Macron happy. And so I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. So this would be our very quick covering of this, because I want to get your opinion on this while I have you here. Emmanuel Macron has declared that France is at war with Russia. Well, he said he's as a question, because I'll just read this quote. The guy tweeting about it. French intervention in Ukraine cannot be ruled out, and France will do everything to make sure Russia doesn't win. There is not a risk of war. There is war. A Russian victory in Ukraine war is an existential threat to Europe and France. I'll let you debunk this bullshit. I can't even. That's right to you. Last thing I'll pass right to you. People who are against French troops being sent to Ukraine are against our sovereignty and are in favor of defeat. Zoya, I know you chomping at the bit on this. I'm gonna get your thoughts on this. This is essentially Macron saying that he didn't declare war. And I see that this tweet was community noted, because he asked this question: did Macron declare war with Russia? And I see he got community noted because technically he didn't. I guess he didn't formally declare war on Russia. But with this statement, he undeniably saying that France is at a war mindset against Russia. Does that make sense? Do you agree with my analysis, Zoe? I want to hear from you. Feel free to disagree if you.
Oh yes, he's been out there saying controversial statements nonstop. He also said that French troops would be on the ground in Odessa in 2025. Oh God, that's funny.
Oh Jesus Christ.
So just so people, I don't want to get into a whole segment, but France's military has 6 divisions and a foreign legion with 6,000 troops in it. In terms of active duty personnel, Russia has the 5th largest military force in the world with 1.15 million and at least 2 million more in reserve personnel. So 1.15 million active duty, 2 million personal reserve. They're the largest country on earth, sitting on the wealth of trillions of resources. But let me tell you why this is really happening. Because Burkina Faso just threw the French out, and Mali just threw the French out with Russian assistance. And France their entire economy is dependent on their colonies. They've been stealing from Africa for centuries. So Russia is a massive thorn in its side, and it has nothing to do with European sovereignty or anything, or Ukraine or anything else that he's referencing. It's because Russia is helping liberation movements, and it is a thorn in France's side. So it is a threat to their bank accounts. And that's
a great point. I didn't consider that. That's a great point, Zoya.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
That's why we're seeing this antagonism and this rhetoric. But in reality, France doesn't stand a chance. And there's been over 13,000 documented mercenaries already on the ground from France and Poland and other countries. And I have those statistics too when we get into a segment. So I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah, we're just doing a light cover of it, maybe 5-10 minutes. So yeah, I love that input. So yeah, this is like a short segment because I definitely had to touch on this. I'll just read a few reactions. Feel free to interrupt anytime. We're gonna wrap up here very soon. Here, George Galloway. Macron has lost his mind. There can be no other explanation for the leader of a state whooped by Burkina Faso declaring a state of war with Russia. I think that's an accurate way to say that he declaring a state of war. That's their mindset. The mindset of war. We negotiated as much as we could. This is another quote from his unhinged press conference that he gave. Press conference. We negotiated as much as we could, but there's nothing to talk about with Putin no more. Ukraine must win. There will be no red lines for France. Emmanuel Macron is talking like a psychopath because he knows war with Russia is the only way he can maintain his power. He's deeply unpopular in France, faces protests all the time, and just lost his majority in his parliament last election. So I didn't consider your angle on it was fantastic, Zoya. That's such a great point. Because my first thought was like, this is Emmanuel Macron puffing his chest out because he know he's fucked. The French people hate him, so I guess he's trying to engage in war as a way to bail him out. That was my first take on it, but your take is also fantastic as well. So this is us quickly touching down on this. I will cover this more in detail on Saturday. There's gonna be a lot of updates on Saturday. I can't wait to see the reaction from the international community because the last time France and Macron said this, they got their ass whooped, even by their own allies. That was saying, you guys are out of your mind. We're not doing this. You guys are giving Russia a victory by even saying this. So any last thoughts on this, Zoya? And I'll read a few super chats.
I mean, I can tell you how the Russian community is reacting with rambunctious laughter. Like, to them, this is a joke. I sent you a picture earlier of they're posting memes of how to make a French flag, and it's basically you take a mop and attach a white towel to it. So it's unfortunate, but obviously he has a different agenda, and all the conflict globally is interconnected. That's why it's so important that we have a deeper understanding of geopolitics, because guess what? Israel is in Syria too. 30,000 children died in Syria. Israel was there. All of these things are connected. You see Israel and Congo. You see the same players show up where the resources are being stolen and the people are being killed over and over again. And this saber rattling from France is pretty pathetic. I can't imagine what the domestic response would be if he ever actually decided to go through with it. So we have to look at what's going on elsewhere in the world, and like Poon says, you know, who's benefiting.
This is man, this is such a good point. I mean, look, this is Putin acknowledging your point. Putin addresses French president's concern over Russian presence in Africa. So you're 100% right. That's
Russian President Vladimir Putin recently commented.
I have not seen this. I'm interested in watching this. I watched this for the first time. We'll wrap up with this video because I haven't seen this. I'm just personally interested in watching it.
Russian President Vladimir Putin recently commented on the strained relations between Russia and France, particularly regarding Russian influence in Africa, which has elicited what he described as an emotional reaction from the French President Emmanuel Macron. I think there is some kind of resentment, but we maintained direct contact with him. We spoke quite openly on the topic. We did not go into France and force France out of there. The problem is different. The well-known Wagner Group first carried out a number of economic projects in Syria, then moved to other African countries. The Ministry of Defense provided support, but only because it's a Russian group, nothing more. Regarding Macron's reaction, Putin suggested that it might stem from broader issues within some African states, implying that Macron's response could be influenced by internal challenges faced by France in the region. It's probably more convenient to be offended by anyone without seeing your own problems. Perhaps such an acute, rather emotional reaction on the part of the French president is also connected with what is happening in some African states.
So I'm gonna let it finish, but if you're not following, I love how Putin is such a snarky asshole. Because what he's saying here is essentially like, bro, we didn't go in Africa and force you out. That's what the quote here is saying. He like, bro, you have problems that Africans don't like you, and what you're doing is essentially having an emotional breakdown. You hear Putin calling Macron emotional over and over again. This is why Western leaders can't fuck with Putin. Not only is he very smart, he also is really a snarky asshole. And I guess I really think he irks them. Like, as much as they do him being strategic and how much they hate Putin, I think they actually like annoyed by him because the way he talks down to them is always hilarious. Now let's finish. I think this is interesting. I haven't seen this, so
perhaps such an acute, rather emotional reaction on the part of the French president is also connected with what is happening in some African states. Although I know other African countries where they threaten the French president calmly and say, yes, everything suits us, we're ready to work with them. But in some countries, they don't want to. We have nothing to do with it. We're not inciting anyone there. We're not setting anyone up against France. Putin emphasized that despite any perceived resentment, he and Macron had maintained direct and open communication on the matter.
So that was interesting. That's good context. So Putin was like, bro, you losing Africa because that's your fault, bro. That had nothing to do with us. Africa, they are smart enough to know what's best in their interest, and they want to do business with China and Russia. A lot of African countries, because I've been reading a lot about this, they are aggressively neutral. I really wish I could remember the name. Was it Nigerian's president? I read this article. You guys know I read a lot of articles. A lot of them I don't even do segments on. There's an article I just read where I want to say with a Nigerian president. I really hope I'm not misspeaking, but he was talking about the Ukraine conflict and how he felt resentment against the West for forcing them to pick sides. He's like, bro, we don't give a fuck about your guys' issue. We want to work with a country that had the best interests of our people at heart. And with that said, they decided that working with China and Russia is better because they can develop these infrastructure projects, have debt forgiven, have economic relationship that is not tied to politics and not tied to the hypocritical Western rules-based order. And that's one of the reasons why Africa prefer Russia over China. I mean, Russia over the United States, China over the United States. I'm gonna see if I find his last receipt because I find it ridiculously disrespectful. Russia propaganda. Here's one of them. They're not the article I was looking for, but they insult Africans all the time because they're saying that Africa is falling for Russian propaganda. Africa is falling for China propaganda. No, they're sovereign people who know what the fuck. Actually, they changed this headline. Actually, they're not that important. I just want to show you guys something. Russia propaganda. I want to see. I'm gonna try to find this article that I covered a while ago. Not that important. Russia growing footprint in Africa. God damn, what the article I'm looking for? It's not like Russia propaganda in Africa. Blah blah whatever. Anyway, Zoe, anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Actually, I gotta read a few super chats. Any last thoughts before I get to super chats?
I mean, how is it even controversial that African countries want to do what's best for their people? And funny enough, I'm glad Putin said that. I haven't watched that entire interview, actually, but I watched the first 30 minutes of it. And the entire time, Putin is talking about domestic affairs, investing more in families, investing more in jobs, investing more in infrastructure because they want to increase their population. They want to increase their industrial capacity. So he was talking about doing what's right for his people. And I know that the way Russia approaches dealing with other countries is respecting that they want to do the same thing for their people. So the projects that they offer and the contracts are mutually beneficial, as opposed to what the West does, which is just kill people and steal their resources. It's a no-brainer why these countries are gravitating towards China and Russia. And this is a very, very dirty way for Macron to display how butthurt he is. And I know that Putin understands that, and he was very strategic and diplomatic in his response. But in all reality, you know, BRICS is rising. They're building their own system to compete with the SWIFT system that the West uses. They've already circumvented sanctions. So Russia and China are leading the way into multipolarity and a world-based order on respect and cooperation. So that's the battle we're in, and expect more of this, especially since Putin's election is coming up in a few days. So that's why they're trying so hard to undermine.
Oh my God! You already know we're doing an episode about that because you already know what the narrative is going to be. They already started the Russia rigged election thing, but we said earlier. This is my last thought about Putin in the beginning of his interview. We talking about domestic policy for 30 minutes. When Xi Jinping was elected for his third term, and he gave a speech that I watched a lot of it. He also gave a speech when there was the new Chinese Congress. I think it was in 2021. It was a while ago. And during the speech, a large amount of the speech was talking about the upcoming projects for China, infrastructure programs. He was talking about improving high-speed rail. He was talking about improving healthcare, housing. Like a lot of it was focusing on building, and another of it was focusing on building relationships with other countries. And it was such a big contrast where you had Xi Jinping, when he addresses the people, it's filled with optimism. He's talking about all these projects that we're working on that will improve the quality of life for Chinese people. And that's why in polls show that Chinese people are very enthusiastic about the future. Meanwhile, look at the State of the Union, which I covered, where the first 10 minutes, Joe Biden spends talking about waging war with Ukraine. Waging war with Russia and Ukraine, I should say. They talk about China, and then you talk about the Gaza war. You guys see, it's not normal for a country to be constantly engaged in never-ending conflict. Whenever they talk about stuff in politics, they talk about we banning this, increasing the police budgets on this. We're going to war with this country. We sanction this country. Do you guys see the contrast? But they want us to think that Putin and Xi Jinping is crazy when they talk about actually doing stuff for their people, which is why Cornball West having Putin's arrangement syndrome and calling people Jimmy Dore plantation because they don't criticize Putin and Russia is absurd. Because as I said, they got policies in Russia that social democrats like Cornball West and Bernie Sanders are fighting for Americans. So how can you call Putin and Russia authoritarian when they have health care for the people, when they got paid maternity leave? You know the policies that your social democrats are fighting for in this country? Anyway, last thoughts. So I see you on mute, and now I got to read get super chats. You know, we can rant all day, but
let's do the super chats because I just have my sign-off speech.
All right, thanks for the $5. I'm like 40 minutes behind, but just wanted to say I love when Zoya's on. Zoya's love, Zoya's life. I told you guys. When I first told you guys that Zoya's love, Zoya's life, you guys thought I was bullshitting. Now you guys see that Zoya is in fact love and is in fact life at the same time.
RBN is right again.
I always learn so much. The Nick and Zoya combo is unstoppable. I told you guys I was in the lab cooking. You had the JB and Savvy combo. The JB Savvy combination is so powerful. I saw JB and Savvy did their thing earlier today. Make sure you guys check it out if you missed it. So I'm like, all right, let me bring my power partner to the table. You know, we got Zoya's in the house. Zoya's love, Zoya's life. Thanks for $5. Also, big, like, kind of premature announcement, I guess. Post Duopoly is gonna be back. We're planning a show right now. We also have a big live show that we're planning for the DNC convention, which I am 100% going. Unless something happens, I have until August. I have plenty of time to plan. I have plenty of time to pinch up pennies together so I don't go broke on this trip. But we're doing live Post Duopoly on Chicago as well. So we talking about powerful combinations. You already know our Post Duopoly brothers do Dissonance and Kit. We're bringing it back. It's gonna be back here very soon. I'm a 74-year-old white guy who drinks beer, smokes weed, and love RBN. Goddamn, the radical left strikes again. The radical left. We love drinking beer. We love smoking weed. We love RBN as well. What's popping, brother? Thank you for watching. I take pride in how diverse our audience is. I mean, Black Power Media and Cornball West. Oh my God! Look at this white person watching the RBN. They're very upset at that. I think it's a good thing, me personally. ARJ, thank you for $5. Thank you for exposing the ownership of TikTok. I hate how the lazy corporate media gets to keep saying that China owns and controls the app. Yeah, people have no idea how bad our corporate media is. They just openly lie. You should never believe anything they say. With that said, I'm getting tired. So Zoya, want to sign us off? Any last thoughts to end the show tonight?
Yeah, just I saw your tweet about Harry and the other Gen Z celebrities who sold themselves out to the DNC, and it made me remember when I was a summer child activist, and I knew that the U.S. was corrupt and things are fucked up, but I still got misled by a lot of people that we were supposed to be able to trust. One of the first things I was organizing for was to legalize marijuana. I've talked about it on RBN, and I thought I'm just gonna, do it for a few months and move on with my life. I ended up stuck in the movement for a decade until we passed legislation in California, and I witnessed how corrupt the whole process is. So I think these big TikTok stars are probably from middle class and not really connected to the struggle to be able to sell out their generation so easily and now be shocked that it has turned on them. But for other young people, part of the reason I talk about my experiences is so that we can save time and not keep repeating the same mistakes. Not only can you not trust the Democrats to lead you to any sort of change because it threatens their own interests, you can't trust a lot of organizations. DSA, Sunrise Movement, all of these organizations also support the Democrats. So when you're getting into activism, beware of who you listen to, because a lot of them told us that the path to victory was following all these steps, and we followed all of them diligently, and we did every single thing they said. Just like in Cop City, the same thing happened in Atlanta. People followed every single step. They did it legally. They appealed to city council, and they were completely ignored. The will of the people is not reflected in our policy. We have to organize independently, and we have to organize around our community needs, because that's the only way you know that you won't get betrayed. When it's your neighbors, when it's your people, when it's going to affect your life personally. And I mentioned it last time, think globally, act locally. Please start doing actions in your community, no matter how small, no matter how big, whether it's just joining a local mutual aid, most cities have them, whether it's organizing your tenants so that you can leverage your rights against landlords, organizing your workplace. There's a million different things that you can be doing, and even people with disabilities can contribute with phone calls, flyers. There's always something you can be doing. And the reason I'm always beating this drum, guys, is because I care about you. I care about the world. I love RBN. I love the RBN audience. And I would like to see change in my lifetime. I've dedicated my life to this, but I alone cannot do it. So please, please let this radicalize you, and then take that anger, frustration, helplessness, whatever you're validly feeling, and turn it into hope and into action, so that one day we can all celebrate that we actually took down the system and they can never do this to us again. Love and solidarity.
Well said. As always, I can't follow that, so I'm not even going to try. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back at Nick at noon. Probably going to cover some more crazy shit from Emmanuel Macron and other breaking news stories. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and support us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you guys for watching, my friends. Take care.